The law offices of Grant Kaplan, located in Boca Raton, they have a depth and breadth of experience that sets them apart from other immigration law firms, available 24 hours a day. Their personal experiences with the immigration process gives them unique insight into the law and empathy for you. They understand the issues you are facing because they have dealt with them themselves. They have extensive experience in a variety of areas related to immigration law. They can help you with a variety of immigration-related issues, including employment-based visas, family-based visas, green cards, removal and deportation defense, citizenship, asylum and abuse cases, and appeals. Attorney Grant Kaplan is well-versed in every area of immigration law. His office prides itself on providing you with excellent service. That means they will do anything they can within reason and all over the world to help you. Attorney Kaplan's staff will give you friendly, courteous, and timely service in completing your immigration matter. Contact Attorney Grant Kaplan today for a free consultation if you would like help with an immigration matter. He will provide you with courteous and prompt service. Call today at 561-347-8440. That's 561-347-8440.
Hey, we are back. That was a great show. We've got another new show that's coming up, that immigration law. And I think they want you to use this mic right here. Pull it closer to you. See, this is our first, so you got to get used to it, and it's live too.
Okay.
And you came all the way over here from Miami.
Well, today, yes.
Today, your office is in Boca. Great office, by the way.
Yeah.
So we have attorney Grant Kaplan. I already love his name already. My son's name is Grant, and you can tell by your accent you're from Alabama. Is that
Alabama,
right?
south of Alabama.
Yes. Very good. I am so glad because you all write us all the time, and you've been wanting an immigration attorney, and we have, he can't say this, but I can. We have one of the finest immigration attorneys, not just you're in Palm Beach, but you were just in Miami.
Yeah.
Dade, Broward.
Throughout the United States, actually.
Actually, that's right. You can practice anywhere.
Correct.
Wow. What is going on in immigration law?
Interesting times, to say the
this is
least.
definitely interesting times. But first, tell us about your practice.
Right, we run a pretty much international immigration and international business practice, mostly immigration law. We're available 24 hours for emergencies.
I saw that, which is important when it comes to immigration law.
And we have, at the moment, 2 attorneys, 8 paralegals, specifically trained in different areas. So we cover the full spectrum of immigration law, focusing to a large extent on business-related issues. We set up companies for guys coming in on intra-company transfer visas, people who've got businesses overseas, for example, that want to come in and set up a business here in the United States. We'll have them transferred across. They can get themselves green cards thereafter if the business takes off. We also will help investors, the bigger guys, the $500,000 guys like you, for example, who can set up and invest that sort of money and effectively buy themselves a green card by investing.
That's how it works,
that sort of money. And then across the spectrum, we'll do marriage-based cases, citizenship cases, guys who unfortunately find themselves in removal proceedings, who may be out of status, kids who were brought by their parents when they were young and now find themselves 18 years later, 20 years later, in some cases many other years later, out of status.
Are you getting calls from kids that came here younger?
Yes.
That their parents have been deported now?
Yes.
And
yes.
so what do you do to bring the family back together?
It's very difficult. And we'll discuss some of the specific areas in due course, but pretty difficult to do that.
So where do you see most of your clients coming from? What part of the country?
Well, we have our office is very much like the United Nations. We have Portuguese speakers and Spanish speakers, and we can get in other languages as we need, Chinese, Russian, any other language that we need to get. We have guys on standby to help us if we need to. But yeah, very much international. On the business side, mostly European, Canadian, some countries in South America, I'm from South Africa originally, although you may have thought I was from Alabama.
Listen to that accent.
So yeah, we bring in a lot of guys who've got businesses or work in big businesses who want to come in and set up and operate in the United States. That's a great way to get in to come and operate in the United States and get themselves visas and green cards.
Is it hard to get a visa now?
Well, when you say visa, there's many different categories of visa. But nowadays, there's no such a thing as just applying for a visa if you're not in the United States, or even if you are in the United States. But if you're not in the United States, you're not just going to automatically get a visa. There is an interview required always at the U.S. consulate in the country from which you are coming. And even if you're coming in on a tourist visa or anything else like that, you're required to show and demonstrate various things. So, for example, if you're coming on a tourist visa, you need to show that the visit that you're coming in on is what is known as brief, innocent, and casual.
Okay.
And also you need to explain that you have sufficient ties to your home country, that you're going to return to your home country, that you have a definite itinerary to be here, that you have sufficient money to be able to be here. Otherwise, they turn you away. So there's clearly no warm blood at the consulates, I can tell you that. Having said that, in many of these consulates, they're very loath to give out tourist visas and some of the other non-immigrant visas to guys because half of the guys don't come back.
Exactly.
So in places like Mumbai, in places like Moscow, that is the case. Nearly 50% of the guys historically have not returned.
We have a lot of students here.
Yes.
Is it hard for a student to come over here?
Same criteria.
Okay.
You need to be able to show that firstly, you need to be admitted to an accredited school, which incidentally doesn't need to be a university or a community college.
But you need an attorney to do this. So
you don't specifically. Always better, you can tune up your own car or operate on yourself. Certainly you can do these things. But obviously,
got a sense of humor too.
Yeah, well, but much better, of course, to have an attorney prepare a package for you. If you're a student, you need to be admitted to an accredited school. Could be an English school, could be a beauty academy, could be anything like that. As long as that school is authorized to give you what is called an I-20 document. Once you've got that, which is admission to the school, we will assist the guys to prepare a package, which they need to take to the consulate. And in that package, again, we need to show that they have sufficient ties to come back to their country.
Why would anyone want to try to do this themselves?
Yeah. Well, the vast majority of people do.
Just to save money, though.
Yeah,
but it doesn't make
don't know that legal help is available to them. So yeah, student visas obviously is a huge business. In fact, we were in India 3 months ago, and we met a couple of different agencies who bring students into the US and into Canada, and they've made a whole business out of this, preparing the packages for these kids to come in. They help them to get admitted into schools and so on. Incidentally, we also have a concierge service in our office, which Gail, who's sitting here, assists with. She can source schools. She can help guys set up as far as whatever they need is concerned. How do I get a social security card? How do I get a driver's license? What do I need to do? So Gail does that sort of thing. In fact, that's what she was doing today in Miami for clients.
Can someone get a driver's license
or people from other countries? When you arrive here from deepest Afghanistan,
right?
Clearly the way of life and everything is different there than it is here.
Much different.
So clearly they need that help unless they've got other people to show them what to do. So that's a sort of an add-on service that we can provide to the guys.
I got to tell you, because I have a political show on in the morning, there's so many questions that I want to ask you about. Do you get very many clients from Russia? Since that's like
we have clients from all over the world, and we, interestingly enough, you'd be amazed, and I often say to the guys, how many people from the US, for whatever reason, find foreign partners.
Yes.
Whether they come in on fiancé visas or they marry them, and many have not even met, and they belong to various of these websites.
I see ads like that all the time.
So yeah, it's very interesting. And perhaps I must write up a thesis one of these days as to the mentality. Not necessarily. There's a fortune of guys, not only guys who bring in girls from Russia, from China, from the Philippines, from Thailand, and it's amazing.
Is that hard to bring them over?
Well, it is. You need, well, yes and no. You need to show that you have a good faith relationship,
Right.
that you've met, first of all.
Oh, God.
That you have a good faith relationship, that there's no issues, either immigration or criminal related, and that the sponsor, being the spouse to be, whether husband or wife, has sufficient funds to be able to sponsor, to sign a sponsorship for the other spouse.
So we had, for the show, 2 questions on Twitter
Right.
that were just for the show.
Right.
And one of them was, and he didn't say what country. He said, I want to come over here and find my wife.
Right.
Because now if he marries an American woman, he's automatically American?
Well, the way that it works is, well, firstly, you cannot come into the United States as far as immigration is concerned to come and look for a spouse.
Okay.
Well, you can, but again,
They need you.
We need to get back to the brief, innocent, and
Right,
casual
yes.
visits. And clearly, if you're coming in to seek a wife, that may not be the case.
I was shocked when I saw the question.
However, assuming that you find a spouse either here or from overseas, certainly it is possible. That doesn't automatically lead to anything. You can apply for a green card in due course, and during the course of that interview, the inquiry as far as immigration is concerned is this a good faith relationship? How long have you known the person? Where did you meet? How did you meet? Typically for a fiancé visa, for example, immigration likes to see that you've known the person for at least 2 years. That's not necessarily the case, but that's what they prefer. But certainly you need to have met the person.
Okay.
And you'll be surprised at the number of people that have not met that want to bring across a fiancé.
It's funny, I've heard you say several countries now. Haven't heard you mention Mexico. Because I know there's people from Mexico coming over here all the time.
Well, not only Mexicans, there's various other nationalities, numerous, that come across the same
But
border.
you see them.
Yes.
Oh, and that's where they're coming through, is through Mexico.
Yeah, through Mexico into Texas, into Arizona, and even onto the beach, you know.
If you had a wish, what law would you want to change right now as to immigration?
Well, certainly there should be regulation. There's no question about that. There needs to be equity and fairness. There does need to be a barrier to entry, which is surmountable. Clearly, you cannot have a free-for-all with people coming and going. There does need to be a law, and there does need to be an enforcement of those laws. No one, I'm sure, will argue with that.
Because it used to be, yes, exactly. It used to be, it would take years to become an American citizen.
Yes.
You had to go through a lot of steps.
Yeah,
You just
jump, over the hurdles and through
Is
the
it
hoops.
still like that now?
Well, it is. There, of course, is much more scrutiny nowadays. And for those guys that are coming across the border, they're being increasingly placed in what are called expedited removal hearings. So in places along the border, for example, although it's not publicized very much, they would put 30, 60, 100 guys in a courtroom at once, and a judge would face all of them and, read out all their names and, possibly translate.
No wonder they
briefly
get
for
lost in the system.
briefly, mention whatever they mention to the guys, and those guys that sign, they send them on their way. So that's what's really become of a lot of these guys coming in, and in addition to that, there are much increased enforcement policies, which I'm sure you've heard and seen all about, where they're rounding up guys which used to only be on the sort of aggravated felony list, but now could be any person that is out of status for whatever reason. And that, of course, has instilled fear into many of the kids that we were talking about earlier, and others who may or may not have some kind of relief available to them. And leading on from that is fear, ignorance, language barriers, in many cases, the perception that they're not going to get a fair hearing, that they're not going to have the right to get an attorney. So in their mind, many of these guys, that is what is going through their mind.
We have a lot of business owners that are watching and listening right now. And I know that one of the upscale homes, the HOA, that group, that they have a restaurant on premise.
Right.
And they said, we cannot get local workers here.
Right.
And they bring in workers from Romania.
Yeah.
That was the Romania. Is that hard to do?
No, not really. That's a program called the H2B program.
Okay, and you get involved with that.
Yes. So those are seasonal workers. So
Yes.
there's difference. There's a difference. There's H2A, which are agricultural workers
Okay.
who come in and pick the crops and so on, and then there's H2B workers, which are seasonal workers, which would come in for a maximum period of 9 to 12 months, and then they would go back where they came from or be transferred to somewhere else where they have another season. So many of these workers are kids that they bring in from various different countries to come in, say, for 9 months.
Hard workers, by the way.
Yeah, and
Extremely hard workers.
They get paid sort of minimum wage, but they're happy to be around and to be in the scene. And many of these companies or country clubs have got, say, a branch in New York, and they would transfer the guys at the end of this season to that season, and so be able to come to and fro for a period of maybe 2 or 3 years.
We're going to go to break right now. We come back. I want to talk investors that come over here, because I see there's a lot of people from other countries that come over here. I don't know how long they stay for, but is that a certain kind of visa that they have for investors?
Sure.
We're going to go to break. We're here with attorney Grant Kaplan. He's an immigration attorney out of Boca, but he can handle it anywhere. It doesn't matter. We'll be right back.
At the law offices of Grant Kaplan, located in Boca Raton, they have a depth and breadth of experience that sets them apart from other immigration law firms, available 24 hours a day. Their personal experiences with the immigration process gives them unique insight into the law and empathy for you. They understand the issues you are facing because they have dealt with them themselves. They have extensive experience in a variety of areas related to immigration law. They can help you with a variety of immigration-related issues, including employment-based visas, family-based visas, green cards, removal and deportation defense, citizenship, asylum and abuse cases, and appeals. Attorney Grant Kaplan is well-versed in every area of immigration law. His office prides itself on providing you with excellent service. That means they will do anything they can within reason and all over the world to help you. Attorney Kaplan's staff will give you friendly, courteous, and timely service in completing your immigration matter. Contact Attorney Grant Kaplan today for a free consultation if you would like help with an immigration matter. He will provide you with courteous and prompt service. Call today at 561-347-8440. That's 561-347-8440.
And we're back. I'm here with attorney Grant Kaplan, and we have a whole new audience right now, people driving home. And so tell everybody, because we have new listeners right now, tell everybody about your practice. You're right there in Boca, easy to find.
Right.
Next to one of my favorite restaurants, kosher.
Okay, good. We have an all-inclusive immigration and international practice. We have at the moment 2 attorneys, 8 paralegals, specifically trained in different areas. We're available 24 hours for emergencies.
Which is important.
Yes, especially nowadays.
Yes.
And we cover the full spectrum of immigration law, from business visas, investor visas, right all the way through to abused spouses, marriage-based visas.
I was going to ask you about criminal law. We do
sort of crimmigration.
Okay,
those guys, permanent residents, for example, who commit crimes and are placed in removal proceedings or travel and come back into the country, and then it pops up on the system that they have a conviction for marijuana or whatever it might be. Those guys are placed in removal proceedings. We certainly will help those guys, as well as the guys who are out of status or happen to be picked up wherever that may be.
For some reason, I know there's prince that come down here to Miami to party, and I don't even know how they got in, but I mean, don't they have to have a lawyer in case something happens while they're out of their country? Because there's a lot of wealthy people who come to Miami or to Boca.
Right.
And I would think that's why 24/7 is probably important for you.
Correct.
That they can get a hold of you.
Correct.
So I also noticed that investors come here a lot from other countries,
Yes.
buying houses, buying property.
Yes.
What do they have to do?
All right. Let me go through a couple of those categories. We'll start at the top.
So there's different categories
Yes.
for investors.
We'll start at the top. There's a visa known as an EB5 visa, which is an investor-based visa, which is either done passively by means of an investment in someone else's entity called a regional center, or there's an active EB5 where you could invest in your own business. 80 to 90% of investors are passive investors.
Okay.
They would invest in one of the 600 or so regional centers. And a regional center is nothing other than an entity that has got permission from the Immigration Service to take investors to come and invest in their particular projects. Most of them are real estate based. They'll develop shopping centers, hotels, whatever it might be. But it could be across the spectrum. That could be in the restaurant business, could be elder care facilities, could be manufacturing, could be anything.
Do they have a certain amount of time they're allowed to be here for?
Yeah. So the way it works is you put up your money, which at the moment is $500,000, and which
Who does that go to?
that goes to the regional center, which
Okay.
is great for them because it's cheap money for them to get
And
investors.
that's gone. That's
Not necessarily. Hopefully not. That money is invested in the regional center together with many others. So let's say, for example, you want to build and develop a shopping center, and you need to raise $30 million. You find 60 lucky people to come and invest in your regional center. That typically becomes a limited liability partnership, and each one of those guys has a pro rata percentage of that company. It's a passive investment. You have nothing to do with the running of that business. Now, the money is invested, typically stays in trust or escrow until the petition has been approved. Once the petition has been approved, the investor and his family, spouse, and kids under 21 become eligible to get conditional permanent residence, which is a green card for 2 years. At the end of the 2-year period, he needs to file with the assistance of the regional center to show that the regional center has done whatever they said they were going to do, invest the money, employ the people, and whatever else they need to do. And at that point, the conditions are removed. And
so that $500,000 goes towards the investment.
Yes, so that's an
Okay.
investment as far as they are concerned. And of course, due diligence is required.
Sure.
To make sure that where you're investing your money, the prospects are good that you're going to get
But
your
it's
money
not
back.
done for you, though. The government doesn't
That's
do
not
the due diligence.
Government does not do the due diligence. The investor must do that.
Okay.
And typically, most regional centers will want to hold on to the guy's money for 4 to 5 years.
Wow.
And at the end of the 5-year period, the guys can get their money. In the meantime, they may get dividends. The time is ticking along towards getting their citizenship. So that is a very popular method of investing. Historically, 80% have been Chinese investors. They've retrogressed, so to speak, the number of Chinese investors that can invest in the program to 4,000 to give everyone else a chance. So they give out 10,000 a year. And it's a great way to get yourself a green
I
card.
heard Brazil is also coming over and
Correct.
buying a lot of real estate now, too.
Correct.
So everybody
that
who comes over has to put this.
and that $500,000 is probably going to go up to $1.3 million at the end of September. So anyone who's thinking about getting involved in the EB5 program needs to do so fairly
Who makes
smartly.
that decision? Is that done by
Congress.
Oh, it's Congress. Who makes
Yeah,
it, okay.
yeah. And they've been stalling and humming and hawing. They need to do a substantial revamp of the EB5 program.
Okay.
To take out the marginal regional centers, and so they've been talking about this, and I think it's at long last coming.
And where do you fit into this?
So we represent the investor.
Okay.
We will prepare and file the petition for the investor. The regional center needs to give us their
Do you do
documentation.
the due diligence for your client?
No,
You don't do
the
that.
client must do his own due diligence. We prepare, process, and file the petition for the guy, and thereafter the removal of the conditions and so on. So that's the EB5 program for citizens of certain countries, mostly European countries, and in South America, Colombia, Mexico, Argentina, and most of the Caribbean countries. They are eligible for what are called E-visas, E2 visas, not South Africa and not many other countries around. These guys can come into the United States, invest $100,000 minimum into a business, and in so doing, can come in and operate that business together with their families under the E2 visa.
Are
So
those
all
hard to
these-
get?
No, not specifically. So all these French bakeries and all these guys, a lot of them are E2 visa guys, where they would come in and set up a business and come and operate. With great visa to have, renews every 5 years. Downside is, doesn't lead to a green card on its own. So, and
You can't do both?
you can, but not through the business.
Okay.
So they would need another mechanism to get themselves a green
Because if
card.
it renews every 5 years,
Yeah.
but you would never be a citizen, though.
Never. But
Okay.
a lot of guys don't want to do that for tax reasons and for various other reasons. Like European citizens may spend some time here and some time in Europe. So it suits them to do that. Our main business are what are called L1 visas.
That was my next question. What do you where's your
So
emphasis?
we spend our time helping guys who either own a business or a family has a business, whether it be a small business with a good turnover, medium-sized, large, listed company, whatever it might be, to set up a branch or subsidiary here in the United States and get themselves transferred across to the United States to come in and set up a branch or subsidiary of that business in the United States. And in so doing, they and their families can come in and operate the subsidiary in the United States, and from there, perhaps get themselves a green card once the business is properly established.
There is so much to know. Why, would, especially a business person, want to try to handle any of this themselves? They need an attorney like you.
Yeah, if I can finish with one important little tidbit, your status in the United States is golden. So many people come to us and say they're out of status or they've gone over the 6 months, but the visa and the passport says 10 years, but in the meantime they're only allowed in for a certain period of time. So ignorance, to a large extent, is not bliss.
Yes.
Ignorance is fatal to your status in the United States. Very difficult to get back into status unless you're afraid to go back to your country, or you are an abused spouse, or you're the victim of a crime, or whatever it might be, extraordinary type circumstance. So that is, one needs to be careful in that.
Well, we're coming to the end. I told you this goes by fast. Give everybody your phone number, first of all.
Okay, so my phone number, telephone, 24 hours, 561-347-8440.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. Can you do it one more time for me?
561-347-8440.
And your website, which you've got a great website.
Yes. American-immigration-lawyer.com.
Oh, it's easy. Anyway, Grant's going to be with us every month. He's going to be back with us next month. And I will promise you, I will take questions next time. We'll open up the phone lines. I just wanted to get him started, and he came all the way in from probably court in Miami. It's so good to have you. I'm so glad you're part of the show. We'll be back next week with more experts, 5 to 6 on 1470 AM and 95.3 FM. We'll see you next week.
Thanks for tuning in today to the Ask the Experts show. Tune in while some of the top local experts in their field from Broward and Palm Beach counties educate you in the areas of law, health, financial, and home improvement. You can also call our offices at 888-574-6999 to become an expert on our show. The opinions expressed on the preceding sponsored program were strictly those of its hosts, guests, and callers, and not necessarily those of this station,